What's the deal, YouTube? Thanks for tapping in with your boy, Savage Studios. Much love, much respect every time you tap in. Man, do I got an interview for y'all tomorrow? I'm going to be doing it tonight. It's going to be posted tomorrow. I'm going to say it's going to be the first of its kind. You won't see another one like it. I'll be the first prison YouTube channel to do an interview like this. And all I'm going to say about it is this person is going to be live from a prison cell. That's it. Anyhow, let's get into the story. Look, man, California prison system ain't no joke. When you go to the SHU, it's even worse, man. People always see these pictures, you know, the one I got on my Instagram profile, if you haven't seen it, of Jamie Osuna, Celly, the aftermath of what he did to him. Go check it out on my Instagram, @we_savage. There ain't no dot in there. Look, when you look at that picture, I want y'all to know one thing, man. I lived in those cells. Exact same design, exact same. Looking at that picture, y'all was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was crazy. No doubt it was crazy, man. But where my mind goes to is when I see the bed, I see the other bed, I see the hallway in the middle. I see how he had his mattress rolled up. Yeah, I see the head and you know, got his head chopped off and everything. But for me, I've been in situations like that, you know, where I've got into it with my cellies, and luckily, you know, I came out on top, and I didn't have it in my mind or in my heart at that moment to do something like that to him, but I probably could have. If there was a time I didn't have a knife on me because I was in the SHU. Those are SHU cells, and it's hard to have a knife in the SHU. You know, it's hard to get a razor blade in the SHU, but they're everywhere. You can get them. You're there for long enough, you can get your hands on them. I'm not saying I've never had one in the SHU. All I'm saying is there's been times where I didn't. And when I didn't, I still had cellies that I just didn't like, man. So what would I do? Or when we would get into it, how far would I take it? Now, look, I've always had my release date in mind, but a lot of cats don't. One time I had a celly, just one time. I've already told this story before, so I won't get too far into it. I had a celly. I was his first celly SNY, right? PC celly, dropout celly. He had just came off of New Folsom's level 4 GP active. And he was, you know, it seemed like he had some kind of chip on his shoulder from the very first second he moved in. Like he wanted to establish his dominance or whatnot. So a little while goes on, we jug, we kid, but he just always got that little undertone. So USNY now, bro, we don't got no rules, homie. There ain't no rules to this. I don't got to answer up to nobody for what I do. So let's slapbox, fool. Let's roughhouse and shit. You know what I mean? I'm trying to gauge his strength. Want to see what he's about. Whatever. Split his lips open. It was an intense slapboxing session. We'll just say that much. Split his lips on the inside. So after that, we keep you know, it kind of calms down, because he kind of sees like, damn, my celly got hands. My celly could probably, you know, take me out if he really wanted to. So it comes back. His attitude comes back, you know. So I'm already fed up at this point. Some of this shit that happened is in such a blur. Sometimes I look back at myself like, man, I was many, man. I was crazy, man, because I literally blocked this out from my mind like it never happened. Unless I really reach in and think about it, it doesn't really pop up to me. So like right now, perhaps I can't really tell y'all how I ended up with a bunch of blankets over his face on top of him, smothering him, so he couldn't breathe. And in Corcoran SHU, they got, every cell door is not a solid door. There's no solid doors. There's no bars. It's a bunch of honeycomb dots. That's why people can shoot little arrows out of it and whatnot. But it makes it to where you can hear everything that the next man over is saying or doing with his celly, or saying or doing with himself. So everybody just on the tier constantly just would chop it up, you know, talk. That's not always the case in GP. They have to keep their mouth shut and you know, be told, you know, don't talk, whatever the case is for them. But we chop it up, man. So this dude is screaming, right? I don't know what led up to it. I don't even know. I was fed up with his little attitude. I don't care where you come from. I don't care where you did your time. You in the cell with somebody who just don't care, bro. So I'm smothering them, and I'm thinking in my head, because I'm fed up at this point. Should I off this dude? Now, the reason I'm telling y'all this story is because he's screaming. He's screaming his guts out, man. He's screaming through the blankets. And even though he's muffled because all the blankets are inside of his mouth, my neighbor, one of the homies, could hear me. And he's banging on the wall. And he's like, hey, let him go, bro. Just let him be, bro. Let him be. Let him be. And I'm like, nah, man, fuck this nigga, bro. Fuck him, bro. Fuck him. Fuck him. You know, I'm on one, you know. And then he's like, hey, once I finally let up, right? Because the homies is on the tier. I finally let up. They all know I'm getting ready to go home soon. He's got tears in his eyes. He don't know whether to start screaming, to beg for his life, or just tell me to calm down. So I take that moment to tell him, like, hey, man, that's it. That's it. You're done, homie. You done with all the tough guy act. Before I had the whole smothering shit had started, we had got into it. I slap boxed with him again. He got mad, and so I busted up his face. He had 2 black eyes. You know, he was all beat up. Mind you, this is a crazy killer with a he just came from New Folsom level 4. They was in a big old riot over there. He was always showing it off like he was about that, you know, want to get that attitude. So don't feel no pity for him, right? Don't feel no pity for him. So I go out to yard, and, you know, he ends up locking me out of the cell. Basically tells the cops while I'm at yard that he doesn't feel safe with me. I had the whole report. So they sent me to another block, 4A4 left, and I'm by myself. And he tried to keep my TV. He kept pictures of my ex-girlfriend at the time. This dude was a weirdo. And when I saw him down the line in a different ad seg, I ended up telling him, like, look, bro. Oh, he actually had wrote my ex-girlfriend and told her that I was cheating on her and that I thought she was fat and all kinds of stuff. So she stopped writing me for like 6 months. And then finally, when she came back, she was like, hey, I stopped writing you because your old Celly wrote me letters saying that you were just using me and that you thought I was fat, blah, blah, blah. So when I got that info, me and him were no longer Cellys, but we were, again, in the same ad seg. We could talk to each other in the vent system. So when I said, hey, they called him Smokey, right? I said, hey, Smokey, you lucky. You lucky you escaped my grasp. You lucky. You lucky I'll never get to you, because he had already documented me as an enemy. They was never going to let me and him be on the same yard, especially after what he did, keeping my pictures. He even kept a picture of me, bro. Like, for real. So, the moral to the story here is, you see Jamie Osuna, what he did to a Celly by taking off his head, cutting out his lung. That's all. That's nothing, man. All that is just decorations, man. 99.9% of the work is just making them stop breathing. Once he stop breathing, then everything else you're doing is like you just basically just, you know, decorating. You just chopping things. Ain't no one gonna fight you. The fight is over. Ain't nothing to talk about. If I was doing life, I'm telling y'all right now, if I had already been doing a life sentence, I would have done the same thing. I would have tried to disconnect parts of his body, set him up differently for the camera. You got to understand. This is the thing that y'all don't understand. They ask, why do women like convicts? Because we think differently. Because we were forced to think differently. Because we were in positions that some of y'all ain't never been in. So we get out with a fresh perspective that they ain't never seen. Does it make us good guys? Nah, some guys get out, kill women, kill other people. Some guys get out, smoke dope. Some guys get out, beat up on their girls. Some guys get out, make love, and they're the sweetest guys. I'm not perfect by far, but my woman loves me, and she loves me for what I've been through and where I've been, period. She knows the demons that I deal with, but I'm here to keep it real with you. When you do time in the shoe and you a level 4, baby, and you surrounded by lifers, you know what? Yeah, the reason I didn't finish him off, man, is because I had a release date. But the fact that I even got that close, it's scary, man. I still think back to that day, like, man, if I wouldn't have had my neighbors and all them, because I really didn't care. I really didn't care at that time. Nobody was really writing me. Nobody was really doing nothing. Nobody was really Your boy didn't even, it wasn't even so much about them. I was just committed to what it was I was a part of. And I was willing to just lay down a demo, man. And I didn't. And I thank God for that, you know. And since then, I've come so far. You know, my son, having my first son, you know, he opened up my eyes, opened up my heart, opened up my soul. My woman, my beautiful wife has helped me grow to unspeakable levels. If it wasn't for her, somebody would be dead by now. A lot of people would probably be dead by now. Just saying. And y'all who know me and who have seen me on these streets, you know two things about me. You know I've been changing. You know that I'm growing. But you know the real. You know what time it is with me. You know where I'm at. So, don't get hung up on these crazy Cellys that do this and do that and think that just because I went to prison or Wes Watson went to prison or 23andMe went to prison and that didn't happen, don't think that we didn't have the capability to do that. Don't think that didn't cross our mind. You know, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. Well, I'm sorry, sweetie, but when in the pen, you do as the prisoners do. And the life for prisoners, that's their home, right? You say anybody who's not doing a life term, anybody who's doing a sentence of even 10 to 15 to even 20 years, that's not a life sentence. So they not calling the shots in prison. That's not their permanent home. So I chose to change my frame of mind. Now, luckily for me, all my cellies tend to agree with my views. We lock horns, we butt heads, we come to an understanding. Very fortunate for that. But I used to tell my cellies, the real knucklehead ones, because in PC and SNY, you your own man. You can fight your celly if you don't like them. In GP, you got to answer up for that. You can't be doing that kind of shit, right? You can't be your own man. You can't make those decisions. So in PC, it's a little more like YA, Youth Authority, JIT, or JIT, or whatever they call it in Florida. It's like more popping like that. I used to tell all my cellies, whether he was buff, tall, small, skinny, fat, whatever. If you start shit with me, bro, just know we going to the end, bro. I will fight you to the death, bro. I will fight you to the very last breath of ounce of strength in me. I don't give a fuck if I lose, because I ain't going to be around to figure it out. I'm going to fight you until I die, or until you put me down and knock me out. And then you could decide what you want to do with my body, because that's how the game goes. No love lost. This is the reality of living in the shoe, spending time with your celly, hours and hours and hours and hours. This is the reality of that. The outcome to disagreements and things like that is usually very bloody brawls. That's the most common ones you'll see. You'll get into a very bloody cell fight. Blood everywhere. Celly's like, hey, man, they try to clean themselves up, but they're so beat up that the cops see. That's the most usual one. But you can't assume that every cellmate's just going to fight you or going to want to take an ass whooping. If I smash you out and you my celly, I'm not going to sleep right letting you sleep in my cell unless I fully know that you broken. Unless I know that you broken, then yeah, you know what I mean? And at that case, I don't even want you in my cell. I never wanted a bitch in my cell. I never wanted a pussy ass nigga in my cell. Not one day. Everyone who was in my cell was a G, and if they wasn't a G, they was locking me out of the cell. When I say locking me out of the cell, it's a popular move used by bitch ass niggas, bitch ass homies, bitch ass weenies. And what it is when you go to yard, you go to committee, you go to medical, or whatever the case is, as soon as you're out of the cell, they tell the COs, hey, don't bring them back in here, I can't. That fucks up your whole program. You got to find a new house, find a new celly. It is what it is. But this is the reality. This is the situation for prisoners, especially level 4 prisoners. You can't complain. You can't cry about shit. But when I see that Jamie Osuna picture, yeah, that's pretty crazy. But if I was doing life too, and I didn't like my celly, the fuck? I kill the shit out of him. Take his head off, put it up his ass. For all I care, that's just the facts. He didn't do nothing spectacular. I'll bitch slap Jamie Osuna. I would literally bitch slap him. He wasn't nobody. He was, okay, look, recent news, I know somebody that worked in Stockton that talked to him. I know homies that knew him in Bakersfield County. He was a 2-5er. Unfortunately, he should have never been one, because ain't nobody trying to make motherfuckers that's torturing women in hotels. That's not the way the game goes. But I told y'all, in Bakersfield County Jail, it's some funny shit going on there with the homies and everybody else. So I would have smashed this motherfucker regardless. I would have been on his ass regardless. But look, man, I'm going to close right here. I just wanted to share this story with you, let you know, I don't know, maybe the capacity of a motherfucker like me that's doing good, got a son, got a wife. It wasn't always peaches and, rainbows and unicorns and shit. It wasn't always this way, It was a lot more sinister and dark, for your boy. But God got a different plan for me, so I'm up out of that. This interview I'm dropping later with an actual prisoner in an actual prison cell. I'll be recording tonight. I'll drop it tomorrow. First of its kind. We're going to speak on integration. He's on a level 4 right now, going through the integration process. We're going to speak on death row. We're going to speak on who asked me kindly and respectfully to remove a certain video. And we're going to touch all kinds of topics. It's all gasoline from here. I got my fucking boot on their neck. I'm not going to take it off. This shit don't stop. And trust me, to everybody that's watching inside, because it's a lot of y'all from what I'm being told, both COs, GP, and SNY. I got love for all y'all, okay? Even the motherfucking COs. If you got respect for me and you got respect for the inmates in there and you ain't coming at them like no bitch, then I got respect for you too, man. Until then, stay up. Much love. Deuces.